has an outer tube and inner tube. Okay. Main difference between metallic and this, these usually they don't have outer and inner. Some of them do have, but usually what we have, they don't have outer and inner. Okay. This has outer and inner tube. So here in Fuller's tube, the outer tube is, the inner tube will be smaller, it will be longer than the outer tube. Okay. This is the outer tube which has two flanges like this. So we press and put like this. We press and insert. Okay. Like this. And then inner tube will be longer. So that, see, inner tube is projecting beyond the outer tube. So even if it gets, inner tube gets blocked, we can remove it. Okay. We can remove it, clean and then put back. If this itself gets blocked, then we have to remove the whole tube. Suppose you have just operated, done a tracheostomy today, you will not be happy to remove the tube and all that. If it gets blocked. That's the advantage of having an inner and an outer tube. Why do you have inner and outer tube? Inner tube can be removed, clean and put back when the tracheostomy is blocked. Okay. So this will remain inside. This will get blocked. So you remove, clean and put back. Okay. That's the advantage. Plus it has a hole here. So it will allow some air to pass so that the patient can close this and try to speak. Okay. So that's the advantage of this hole. Because it will allow some air to pass. There should be some air to produce sound. So the air will move through this hole and start vibrating the vocal cords. Of course, the patient has to close this hole. Otherwise, the air will escape. So patient closes this hole and tries to speak each time. Okay? This is the outer and inner tube. This is a Fuller's tube. The other one is Jackson's tube. There is one more that I will show you. Okay? Jackson's tube, that also has an inner and outer tube. There also you can remove the inner tube, clean, put back. But it doesn't have a hole. Jackson's tube doesn't have a hole. Okay, but it has a locking mechanism by which this both get locked in Jackson's tubes. Okay. So this is a metal tube, Fuller's metal tube, which has an inner and outer tube. What is the purpose of inner tube? It can be removed, clean and put back when the tracheostomy is blocked. Okay. And the hole allows the air to pass in so that the patient can close the tracheostoma and try to. Okay, but do you think you can ventilate with this tube? No, you can't ventilate with this tube because the ventilator has to fix over the tail and then you give air ventilation. It's not possible with a metal tube, but with the vortex tube, it is possible. Okay. So this is used for ventilating. Okay. That is, when that is used, after all that initial patient was on ventilator and patient was sick, you have to use this tube only because he needs to be ventilated, isn't it? So once the patient is out and we are deciding, okay, we may not need a tracheostomy, we may close after a few days, then you can transfer it to metal tube. Understood? So in the process of decannulation, we remove this and then put metal tube and then finally remove that also. Then the ventilation is not required. But here initially when you do a tracheostomy and the patient needs ventilation, you have to put a vortex tube. Okay, PVC, polyvinyl chloride, plastic. This is called vortex, this is called ROMS, these are different companies. So this tube, vortex tube can have cuff
uncuffed
or uncuffed. So what is this? This is cuff or uncuffed? It's got a cuff. So this cuff, syringe, where I could push some air and then this will bloat. Okay? This will bloat and conform to the walls of the trachea. Understood? Why do we need to use cuff? To prevent air leak. So once you bloat this and it blocks the trachea, then you can ventilate well. Otherwise the air will be leaking from around the cuff. Okay, so you inflate the cuff. So when you need to ventilate the patient only, you inflate the cuff. So you have what other, and also to prevent aspiration. Okay. So in comatose patients, they may not require ventilation, but still they will be aspirating, isn't it? So if you don't inflate the tube, secretions can trickle around the cuff into the trachea, and you may be still aspirating. So again, in case of aspiration, again you inflate the tube, so that secretions don't get into the trachea. Understood? So for ventilation, we need cuff, and also secondly, prevent aspiration in comatose patient. Because secretions will go around the cuff into the trachea. Okay. So you don't need ventilation, and we don't suspect aspiration, then you don't have to use a cuff tube. Then you have plain tube, uncuffed tube. Okay. So there are uncuffed tubes also. You can just put that. Okay. So once the initial phase is over and we are planning to decannulate and all, then we remove this cuff tube and just put a uncuffed tube, plain uncuffed tube, or you can put that middle tube. Okay. So they may ask again, cuff, what is the purpose of cuff? Then do you need to keep it in? How do you take care of the cuff and these kind of things? Okay. So you don't overinflate the cuff. What happens if you overinflate? One thing it may break. Another thing is it will cause too much pressure on the walls of the trachea, which will lead to pressure necrosis and in the long run granulation, stenosis. So we are damaging the tracheal wall. So we just need to put air sufficiently to just upload the trachea, not overinflate. Okay. So that's the one we'll ask. So actually they are in ICU they'll have cuff pressure monitor. So you have to adjust the cuff pressure. That much air only you should inflate. You should not exceed that pressure. That means you're going to damage the vascularity of the trachea. Okay. So they may ask about tracheal stenosis, why it happens. So initially you will have ischemia, then ischemia will lead to loss of vascularity, so granulations. That part will necrose, and the necrosis will heal by granulations, and then fibrosis, and then stenosis. Okay. So that's all about tracheostomy. So tracheostomy they will ask indications and complications. Then some more models. How many? It's not just 2. Yeah,